Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Do you have any units available?
Yeah, we have a lot. What are you looking to store today?
I don't know, maybe like a 5x5, 5x7?
Yeah, we have 5x5. And they're actually on the special right now. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Dan.
Yeah, so we have 5x5s. Actually, if you look right here, it might.
Oh, okay.
I think this one might work. Because, you know, you can stack them up pretty high.
Yeah. Sounds like it might work.
Did you want to rent ones today, or are you just kind of looking around?
Yeah, no, I think I'm ready to rent.
With that discount that we have going on right now, I don't know how long you're looking to store. First 3 months, it goes for $39.99. And now the first month we do require $22 administration fee, $12 insurance per month.
Okay.
Now if you have like renter's insurance or homeowners, I'm just going to show you this minute.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have like homeowners or renter's insurance, you just send it on over and then we won't charge you.
Oh, okay.
$12 a month.
Okay.
And it'll be $51.
First month here.
So the first month is with a $22 administration fee, $73. And then it goes to $51 with the insurance and then $39 if you have your own.
Okay. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Close to the door. And this is 5 by what?
This is the 5x5.
Up there too. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Easy, close to the door. I like that.
Sorry, I'll just show you these really quick.
Okay.
So we have a light, and they're on a timer.
Oh, okay.
So 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then I just need your ID.
Okay. And I'm just going to pay cash too.
And then just your signature right
Okay.
there. Okay. $73.
73.
There we go. $27. Now we're going to make your sign-in. And here's your receipt.
Okay.
And you're all set.
Oh, you know what I need to get? I need to get a lock because I have to put a lock on it. Let me get a lock, and I need a thing of tape. I guess just one of these little locks here. And then you got some boxes too. Yeah, I need 2 of these guys. I should have told you that before.
And you do get 20% off.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. And then I'll take that company lock off for you next one moment.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi.
You want to get this car?
No, I already got it. She's just going to go take the lock off my unit.
Oh, would you like me to take the lock off for you?
Oh, sure. Whatever you guys want to do it.
Yeah, please, be my guest.
Let's go.
A pleasure. Come on in. Let me give you a ride right here. Please.
We're just walking like right here.
Let me give you a ride, please.
And we're like,
Thank
okay, let's do it.
All right. So, sorry. Hold down, everybody.
No, it's right there. It's right in that door.
Oh!
Oh, fun.
Okay, cool. I feel like a funny movie. Team power.
I thought that seemed, I don't know, maybe I was just missing something, you know?
All right.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. This guy.
That guy right there. Perfect, thank you.
Tell him I'll be my guest and be my next money.
Thank you, Mario. Okay, have a good day. You made me walk back? You may- See you guys, thank you.
Bye.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is the premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I am Iris Segan, the president of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA. And I'm thrilled to be your host for this informative session today. Whether you're a seasoned self-storage professional or just starting out, understanding and leveraging local consumer reviews is really crucial in today's competitive landscape. Before I get started, I do have a few quick housekeeping items to share with you. If you have questions for the speakers today, please be sure to use that chat. I know some of you have already been telling us who you are and where you're from. That's great. Use that same chat area anytime you have a question throughout the session, and I will try to moderate those and jump in and get your questions answered live while we're here today. We do have the experts, so that's the best reason to join a live webinar and get those questions answered. If for some reason we don't get to your question or we can't answer it here, we have your email if you're a registered participant, and we will get back to you with those answers. Also, we'll be asking poll questions throughout the day. You'll see those pop up, and we'll put them in the chat. Please do take some time. We'll only take a second. They're A, B, C, D. Just answer those poll questions for us. It helps us to get to know you better. It also helps us to put together better webinars for you and make them more informative because we know you better. As always, I want to thank our member partners and panelists who help us put these webinars on and educate the industry. So a big shout out to Storage Reach and Storage Asset Management for helping us out today. In this webinar, we're going to dive into how local reviews do impact your self-storage business and explore effective strategies to harness that power. We're going to cover insights to what consumers are saying, how to respond to that feedback, and practical tips to enhance your reputation and attract more customers. So we have an expert lineup of speakers. They're ready to share some knowledge with you, answer your questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get started by introducing our host, Cale Levitt from Storage Reach. Hi, Cale, how are you?
Good. Hi, Iris. How are you doing today? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. You want to tell the audience a little bit about you, who you are, and what Storage Reach does?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Kel Levitt. I am the CEO and co-founder of Storage Reach. My background, I started in self-storage about 10 years ago with Easy Storage Solutions. I was the vice president of marketing at Easy Storage, helped grow their marketing department from 5 clients to about 1,500 clients before the Storable acquisition. After the Storable acquisition happened, I moved over to the Storable team for a while and then left to pursue Storage Reach. Storage Reach is a automated system that helps facility owners to generate and manage Google reviews. The reason that I wanted to focus on this was when doing SEO for 1,500 clients, we really saw the power that reviews had on facilities. And I really felt like it was something that was needed and something that the industry could use. And that started Storage Reach. And here I am.
That's awesome. And it's a fantastic service. I think you won't get any argument from anyone that That's the first thing we do when we're looking. We're looking at for a location on Google, and then the next thing we check is the reviews, right? So it
Right.
is a crucial element to this industry. Well, thank you for being here and hosting today. I'm going to take you off screen for a second and bring up Melissa. Melissa Stiles. How are you today, Melissa?
Good. How are you doing, Iris?
Great. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about you and storage asset management?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Melissa Stiles, CMO for Storage Asset Management. We are a third-party property management company that only manages self-storage facilities. So we manage about 600 in 37 states across 107 different brands, and have been with Sam for 10 and a half years now.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to bring Kale back up. I know you guys have plenty to talk about today.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just figured we can get started. When we were planning this webinar, we thought it'd be really interesting to kind of look at some survey data. What is called Bright Local, and Kyla, if you want to bring up those slides for us, Bright Local does a survey every year. It's called their Local Consumer Insight Survey, and they, have a large audience that they poll and get data from, and get asked questions to get data from on consumer reviews. Now, this survey isn't necessarily a storage specific survey. I really thought it's interesting to go into how people understand, how people look at reviews, and how the entire world views reviews. I wanted to bring Melissa into this because last time we spoke, she had a lot of data from this survey, so I knew she was very familiar with it. Figured, with Sam, she has a lot of experience with it as well. So I thought it'd be awesome to kind of talk about. So we have that link there. Not sure if we can add it to the chat or not, Kyla, but it will allow you to kind of look at that survey. There's a lot of data in it, a lot of really interesting points that we're going to make. But we might not hit on everything as well. So there's some, if you want to read through it, it's really informative. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on this survey, Melissa, but we can jump into it if not.
Yeah, God. No, it's been great. And Bright Local's been putting it out. Just this isn't the first year. They've been putting it out for almost, I would think, 10 years now, I guess. So it's been really interesting to also see the trends. So if you look back, not only on this year's, but if you look back over the years and just understand how the reviews have transformed, it's pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think they started back in 2017, so they've been going about 7 years now. Yeah, you can see it's crazy the increase in reviews. When we were doing SEO, when I was doing SEO for a lot of clients, that was back 18, 19, and it was a big impact then. And I mean, the stats in this survey show just how much that's even increased in the last 5 years, just astronomical. So, we can kind of just jump into kind of the main points that they make in this. I think the biggest thing that we want to talk about is just how often people are looking at reviews. It's something that a lot of facilities don't seem to focus on. The REITs focus on it. They do a really good job. And that kind of leaves a lot of the mom and pop facilities in the dust in that. And so with facilities, we found they don't focus on it enough. Well, 75% of consumers are always looking at reviews. They always checking reviews. They're always, whether they're looking on Amazon, whether they're looking for a restaurant, they're checking reviews. Only about 3% of people, Bright Survey says, or Bright Local says, don't actually even look at reviews at all, which is crazy to me. And about 80% of people actually use Google for that.
Yeah. So, sorry. I was just going to make a few comments here. We talked about the number of percentage of reading reviews. And I think one thing to remember is that they're reading those reviews before they even go to your website or before they even call. So that is why I think the REITs and most storage operators are focusing on those reviews, because it is a way to get in front of that customer before they even land to your webpage, before they call your call center or call your store. So it's the impression that you're leaving to them. And I think the other thing with reviews is they're the new word of mouth, right? Before I used to, I think you see this a little bit still on Facebook, but before you could just call your friend and say, hey, can I, do you have a recommendation? Now you have access to thousands of internet friends who can give you that recommendation when you search as well. Sorry.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of a real world example. This isn't necessarily storage either, but I think I shared this on the last time we were on a webinar too, but I was in Phoenix a few years ago and I left a review for a golf course. And about 6 months later, I got an email from Google that said that like 2,500 people had seen my review. I would not have told 2,500 people about this golf course. It was a positive experience. I left a great review. I don't know 2,500 people. So that's kind of where that word of mouth it comes in as well, because I wouldn't have told 2,500 people. And really, it just kind of emphasizes that word of mouth because it gives you a lot bigger reach and a lot more contacts to make. Wow, to tell. Um, One thing too with this with this slide bringing up, we're seeing some changes as well with how people are interacting. It used to be a lot of Facebook, Yelp, looking at reviews, and those are decreasing when a lot more people are looking at Trustpilot and Apple Maps. Now, granted, Google is still king. There's still 80% of people looking at Google, so that's where we want to focus on. But other things are changing. So, Melissa, I was curious with you, with doing marketing for 600 stores. Do you guys see a big change in Apple Maps and Trustpilot? And is that something you guys focus on, or is it mainly Google because that's king?
Yeah, so definitely have noted Apple Maps, just for everyone on the call, their own review system launched in 2023. So I think that's why you see that spike as well, because it's new. And previously it was powered by Facebook. I think that's why you see the decline. But I wanted to add, we focus a lot on Google, right? Because that's where the searches are happening. That's where for search engine optimization, for word of mouth that we talked about, all of those reasons. But I think just to comment on some of these decreases too, like Yelp was used for a lot of physical businesses and service type of businesses, the restaurants it was big for. So I think that's why you see the decline with when COVID happened, more people were looking at digital platforms and leaving reviews that way and able to leave reviews in a way that are proactively requested, and Yelp just never caught up to that. So I think that's why you see the decline. But I think that they're still important because we are seeing a little bit more traffic coming from Bing than previously, and both of those platforms, especially Facebook, power the Bing maps. So I don't think they can't be ignored, but I think if you're going to choose one platform, it's definitely Google.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're going to focus on something, and be with Google. So going into the reviews, and we kind of touched on this before, but reviews, helping you stand out, helping you gain an edge over your competitors. One thing that's really interesting with reviews, and I don't remember the exact stats that they talk about, but when someone goes to searches Google for maybe storage next near me or something along those lines, about 22% of people, or maybe 22% of people, I believe, click on the pay-per-click ads at the top. About 20 or 32%, I can't remember the exact stats, people click on your organic ranking, and 42% of people actually click on the Google Map Pack. So just right there, I mean, you're getting a majority of your traffic from Google Maps. So we're focusing on Google reviews, where that's king, like we were saying, is allowing you to rank higher as well, because it is an SEO and online marketing, or an SEO algorithm factor, and it allows you to get a lot of area on that search engine or the SERP page. What we used to tell people is, if you're doing pay-per-click and you have a good organic ranking, if you're able to get a good map packs ranking as well, you're 3 spots in that first 10 listings. It's really, you're about 30, you up your percentage by increasing them out because you're taking up more space. And another thing too with that, and this slide shows, this is kind of an interesting stat, and I think it kind of really shows the power of reviews. It's just, it shows that facility with a higher review rating can actually charge 10% more and still win business over the competitors. I don't think that's saying, start getting reviews, you can increase your rent by 10%. I think that just kind of show you the power that they have and just the psychology over people. They want to be assured they're having a good customer experience. They want to be assured that they're going to their items are going to be safe. Not sure if you had any thoughts on that, Melissa, but kind of pass it over to you from there.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add other than what you mentioned, where you just have that word of mouth again, and you feel like it's been peer reviewed. The more reviews, the better too. I think, the average rating is definitely good, but if you have 5 reviews with a 5-star rating, I think it weights a little bit differently if you have 500 with a 4.8, right? It just feels like it's more authentic, and that they're actually, the reviews are real, and that you can actually trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious your thoughts on this, Melissa, as well. With the ratings, you mentioned the 5-star rating with 5 reviews or 4.8. What we've kind of seen is that isn't a huge impact after once you get over 4 stars. 3 stars, I think it talks about this in the Bright Local, and we might hit it on another slide. If you're 4 stars or below, about 67 or 70% of people won't consider doing business with you if you're under 4 stars. So we haven't seen a huge increase on the star rating. Once we get that star rating up, it's more about just consistently getting reviews, because people want to see the newest reviews possible. I know the most used feature on the Google Maps reviews is the newest filter. So I'm just curious, do you guys see a big increase if it goes from 4.2 to 4.8, or is it pretty minimal on that side? It's just more about the quantity.
Yeah, I think it does. You see a little bit more traffic to your website, because as you increase that rating, you can also increase your position in the local pack, especially if you're in a market where they're very close. But I think, again, it's maintaining. And for us, like the 4, 7, 4, 8 is where we target to be and stay. Because I think the 5-star, you're not going to make everyone happy. So the 4.7, 4.8 is A, attainable, but B, it also makes you look like an authentic business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you're looking at businesses and you see, 200 reviews and they're all 5 stars, like a 5-star rating, that kind of seems fishy to me.
Mm-hmm.
No one's perfect. Everyone's going to have a negative review every now and then. So I think, just that 4.7, 4.8, that's interesting. And then trust and authenticity in reviews. Sorry, I can't talk. Are kind of things we've touched on already. But some stats here: most consumers expect a business to have between 20 to 99 reviews, which hasn't changed. So they do expect you to have some. I think it depends on your market, the right amount. Obviously, we say get as many as possible. Some markets, though, if you don't have over 500 reviews, you're not going to compete like the other markets where you might need 25 reviews. And 27% of consumers expect to see a business reviews as fresh as 2 weeks, and which is up from 25% in 2023, and also up from 2022, 22%. So that just goes to show they're expecting consistent reviews, and they're expecting something as fresh as 2 weeks, which, with us, we see a lot of facilities. We work with a lot of facilities, but that's not the case before they start with us. It's definitely something that people have struggled with. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to comment on the volume of reviews, if I can.
Mhm.
There's a number that they say, and again, the Bright Local is across all industries, but I think it's important to realize you might be a facility that only has 250 units. So really that metric should be the percentage of move-ins that are leaving rentals for you, to just kind of tie it into the storage industry. So like our goal is 30% of our move-ins leave reviews. So 3 out of every 10 rentals. So when you're looking for a number, and that number might seem a lot, 99 reviews and you only have 150 units at your facility, just to remember that is, yes, the market does come in paying your competitors, but Google also wants authentic reviews. And if you're getting this influx of reviews but don't have that many units, it might also be a detriment to you if Google, figures out the authenticity.
Yeah. And we've even seen, talking about authenticity and, detriment to you, we've seen people have friends and family leave reviews that aren't people from their location. Maybe they're in their facilities in California and they're having reviews left from people in Michigan or something like that. And we've actually seen those get taken down. So Google is tracking as well, and they have flags that pop up. Google's smart. They can see things that aren't likely to be your clients or your customers, and they will flag that. So I think authenticity is a big thing there. Wanting to get them from your clientele. And Melissa, I think one question to kind of go on with that is how do you guys, we're talking about, getting 30% of reviews or 30% of move-ins to leave reviews. How do you guys go about that? And what's your process with your managers and your portfolio?
Yeah, so I think it's super important that you have a process in place. And so ours is to ask at time of rental. So if it's a traditional staffed facility, they're doing that rental on the phone or they're doing it in person, asking for that review, that personal ask definitely makes the world of difference. And the manager can say, hey, your review really means a lot to me, and the feedback and making it personal, more likely to get the review. And it's great when you see reviews mentioning the manager's name as well, because then again, looks authentic, a place that you want to do business with. So we have a couple different ways. We have a text message automatic system that sends out a request for the review. How did we do? Could you leave us a review? And we have an email that goes out with all of the information about the facility, so how to pay your bill, hours of the office, the gate access hours, etc. But then also ask for the review. And then at any point, the manager can also do that personal ask by sending like a non-automated text. They have access to that, or they can change that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Just having systems in place. I think it's interesting too that you mentioned, staff first on staff. In today's industry, there's, especially a few years ago, that was a huge topic, was remote run facilities. I think it's even more important in remotely run facilities to have systems in place like Sam does, because you don't have that personal ask. The best way to get a review is, like Melissa said, a personal ask. Someone had a good experience with your manager in the office, or out in the facility. But if that doesn't happen, if they don't have that interaction, or if you don't have someone there, just having a system in place is extremely important. Um, and so I think, a lot of people that we work with, they just don't have systems. They don't have it in place. And if they do have systems in place, they don't. And not even when I say systems, it doesn't have to be an automated text. It doesn't have to be, an automated email. Just have making sure your managers are asking and making sure it's consistent, is huge. Um,
And just to add, QR codes that go right to the Google review around your facility, both in the, right at the office, but if you're a virtual run, having it in wherever the tenant portal is either. Now I'm tongue twisting as well, Kale. So, and go from there. So.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. As long as you're doing something, I think is the biggest thing. With that, let's see. And once we're getting reviews too, I think the next slide, Kyla kind of talks about, and sorry everyone, Kyla's is someone with Storage Reach. She's in the back running the slides. So when I mention Kyla, don't get confused. But it talks about responding to the reviews as well. Google wants to see, so part of Google, like I said, Google is smart. They know a lot of things that are going on. Their whole goal with their search engine is to provide the best possible site that they're going to have a good customer experience with. They think if they provide if they recommend the best sites that they're going to have a good customer experience with, they're either going to get some sort of pay-per-click, or they're going to somehow make money on Google's end. So one thing that they do, and one of the reasons and one of the factors that they play into that, just making sure they're going to have a good experience, is building trust. They want to know that you are actively working on your business. You're actively trying to provide a good customer experience. Reviews do that. They show that you're actively working, you're actively improving your business, but also responding to reviews. Consumers are 1% more likely to use a business that responds to all of its reviews than a business that doesn't respond to any. So now here I'm a little bit different in this stat. I don't always look at the responses. I more just look at the reviews, but it just goes to show, some people really, almost half the amount of people want to see the responses happen. They want to see them consistently, and they want to see them within 2 weeks. I think it says 87% of consumers said they expect to receive a response within 2 weeks. And so I bring that up too because Google wants to see that you're responding. They want to see that you're actively managing your business, and that helps them know that you're a business that you could trust.
Yeah,
Or they can trust.
I'm in the other half where or I want to see the
Yeah, you want to see the
I
response.
want to see how they respond because mistakes happen, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna happen, and so to
Yeah.
me, it's more important. And I guess maybe this is just my philosophy in life in general, is how you respond to the mistakes versus
Hmm.
how, what mistakes happened. Like you're not going to make everyone happy. So if you are able to respond in a way that is productive, and keeps your customer experience and customer service, at a high level, I'm more interested in that. And that I'm the one who's like filtering to the negative reviews and just not really perusing
Right.
the negative reviews, but really seeing if the business answered it, how they cared. And it is fascinating to me how I haven't seen it in the storage industry, but outside the storage industry, how some people respond to negative reviews, and just gives me more of an indication of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that goes, with me, I do look at the responses on the negative reviews. I don't necessarily look at them any
Right.
positive. Um, but I mean that this is kind of a question for you to kind of put you on the spot and kind of throw things in a different direction here.
Yeah.
Um, what negative reviews have you seen that have been just totally wild, outlandish? Like the other day, while you're thinking, we had a client that got or they're building a facility. They're not even ready yet, and they got a 1-star review saying that the construction company's loud and that they couldn't sleep in the morning or something like that. So not sure if you've seen any
Yeah.
funny random negative reviews, because everyone gets them and some are crazy.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those, especially on new developments. We've seen ones that don't make sense, like that like I think we had one that was like they thought they were reviewing a dry cleaning business or something, just the way the review was worded. I was
Yeah.
like, that doesn't make sense. But I mean, in general, a lot of our negative reviews are around the auction process, which is,
Oh, okay.
understandable.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is, just how do we respond to them, because there's a process that was uh, followed, and at the end of the day, they didn't pay their bill, right? And that's why the negative experience
Right.
occurred. So there and people put a lot of thought into their reviews around that, which is interesting to me as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny. It's things that aren't really, your fault or anything like that. Like if they pay your bill, it's always interesting too when you go down to respond to those one of those reviews, um, and say, you basically just say straight up, this person didn't pay their bill. Just it's kind of a ridiculous review. One thing too that we can kind of talk about. I'm not sure if you guys utilize it, but it is something that's relevant in today's world is AI
Mhm.
responses. In that Bright Local survey, it actually talks about how they compared a regular response and an AI response. And it actually talked about how people preferred the AI response just because it was more
Interesting.
well written. I think like in our tool, they're able to use an AI response on negative feedback or on any feedback, but I think the real benefit is on negative feedback. You type something in and you say regenerate or something that'll kind of write that back up and make it so you're taking your emotion out of it, because sometimes if there is a negative review that some facility owners are mad about it, like, yeah, we don't deserve this, and so they go on and kind of badmouth in the response, which isn't a great response. I think the AI response kind of takes that human element out of it and the
Yeah.
emotional element. But I'm not sure. Do you guys use any AI responses or?
So we actually use AI responses for 4 stars and above.
Okay.
So really using the AI responses for the positive reviews. For the negative reviews, I can just kind of touch a little bit about how we answer those.
Yeah.
So we actually we'll answer them, and we want to take that conversation offline as quickly as possible, because Kale mentioned you can get into these wars about, okay, you didn't pay your bill. Wait, again,
Yeah.
but if you're reading the negative reviews, that's not the response you want from the person, and you don't know all of the pieces that went in place. So we asked, so sorry that you had this experience. Can we take this offline? And the good thing about storage is we have a database of clients. So in, I would say 80 to 85% of the cases, you can match that up with who left that review. So we have an actions ticketing module system that our operations supports, that goes in and they contact that tenant, try to resolve it. And a lot of times we're able to then, resolve that issue for them and give them a better customer experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. Just trying to take it offline and the best route to go for sure. With
Absolutely.
negative,
I have to say, I see many, I'm like Melissa, I like to see how they respond to the negative reviews because that is very
Yeah.
telling. And when you see an owner arguing with a customer, like that's just never a good look. Even if you're right, it's
Yeah.
never going to be a good look. The best thing possible is exactly what Melissa said. Hey, we're really sorry you had a bad experience. Please contact us so we can, figure out how to make it better, that type of thing. But it seems like it should go without saying, don't argue with someone online, but it has to be said. So yeah,
Right. Right.
and then also, I don't know if you'll touch on this later, Kale, but you spoke earlier about raising up that score. Do you have tips for that too?
Raising up the
If you have
rating.
yeah, if you're below a 4, you're somewhere in
Yeah.
the threes or something, how
hmm
can people get that score brought up to a 4?
Normally, what we see is when people have a negative rating, or I guess not a negative, but a under 4-star rating, it's because they're not focusing on getting reviews. It's because those reviews that they are seeing are people that are upset. If you're not focusing on generating, asking for reviews, the only reviews that normally you're going to get are people that are mad, that want to go scream about you. So what we found is if they are low, just focusing on the ask is the biggest increase and the biggest way to do that. There have been some facilities that have maybe some gate issues or things like that that they haven't been aware of, that they're getting a lot of negative reviews from. And once we came in and found that, this is why, they were able to fix that. They stopped getting negative reviews on the gate and it started to increase and go above that score. But I would say the biggest thing is just the ask. I'm not sure if that's what you've seen on your end, Melissa, but that's kind of what we've seen if there are.
Yeah, 100% is the ask. But I also think, especially if you're a staffed facility, you have like some tenants that are your champions, and they're referring people in general. If you have like a referral discount, that they are the advocates for your facility. And it doesn't hurt to reach out to them and say, hey, do you mind leaving a review? You seem to really enjoy your storage experience and it would help me. So I think we focus a lot on the new clients and getting them when they come in, but you can still use your current tenants as advocates as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something, us at Storage Reach we try to put a focus on that. We try to put a focus on your current tenants because storage is different than most industries. You have a treasure trove of people that are actively renting from you, that are actively, probably having a good experience, so they wouldn't be renting with you anymore, or they're just too lazy to move their stuff, kind of thing. So we try to hit that. We try to hit that. We don't if you are a facility owner and you want to reach out to all of your current tenants, I would say we like to kind of spread it out. I would say don't reach out to all 400 at once and say, you get 20 reviews and you don't get anything the next few weeks or months. We try to spread that out because Google likes consistency. It's not weighted as heavily if they are just all in one day. They'd rather see 2 a week for 10 weeks than 20 in a day. So I think that's a really good point, is just, hitting those current tenants if you know that they are going to leave a positive review, and having the systems in place to do that.
Great.
Um, on this slide, to kind of go back to our slide, to kind of bounce around all over the place, but 88% of consumers would use a business to replies to all reviews, kind of things that we've talked about. One thing that's kind of interesting, especially with you, Melissa, that you work with, you said 104 brands, I think. 91% of consumers say the local branch reviews impact their perception of the wider brand. That's pretty telling, because they're only having an interaction with that local branch. Luckily, storage is more of a local based business. People aren't driving 8 hours to visit and on vacation and say we're going to visit this place. They're not going to do that. So luckily it's more than, you don't have that wider brand. But maybe with you, I'm curious, do you guys see any of those stats? Do you guys see any issues with that, with people maybe moving different areas, or is it kind of hard to quantitate?
Yeah, it is hard to quantify. And you're right. Like storage is so local that
Yeah.
12 miles from your house, probably 20, maybe 20, depending on where you live, is the maximum you're looking for storage, or where
Yeah.
you're moving. So you're not. I think obviously there's bigger brands in our industry that are well known, but we do have, like in our internal communications between stores, we see a lot like, hey, I have this tenant that's moving to, a town, what facilities do we have there, and looking at some sister stores. So I do see that is true, and it's interesting that reviews would mention that. So I think, taking that is making sure that whatever your reviews are linked to, you're looking at it on an aggregate level too, not just a local level, to make sure that overall your brand sentiment is high.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I think
Sorry.
I was just going to comment another before we move to the next slide. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing to remember, and if you saw this in the demand study, is that 50% of users have never used storage before. So when we talk about reviews, I think that's really important as well. And we're looking at like, what are the consumers saying? What is the sentiment? And replying to the reviews. So I think that's, just another reason why to focus on these reviews and really focus on the positive ones as well.
Yeah. I mean, 50% of people haven't used storage before. When those people that haven't used, their first interaction with storage and their first kind of experience is going to be looking at those reviews.
Right.
It's going to be their first impression. And so, yeah, I really like that. And one thing that we always talk about is kind of creating more of a customer experience loop, to where, we get a positive review. Our whole goal is to get a move in, get a positive review. Hopefully those people that moved in, they stay a while, but they also, that positive review, someone that's looking for a facility, maybe it's part of those 50% that have never rented, they see that review, they say, yeah, I feel comfortable with that, I'm going to rent a unit, and then they leave a review, and we just hopefully get this cycle going, where that review drives business and helps to improve our just online reputation as well. So one thing too on this last slide, or this last bullet point I want to talk about, is that 50% of consumers trust review as much as personal recommendations from family and friends. I think that's a really telling stat as well. I mean, just another personal example. I was on Amazon the other day. My sister recommended a product to me that said, this product was awesome. It was for our new baby. And I looked at it, and thank you. I looked down it, and it said it had like 3.2 star reviews with 500, or 3.2 star rating with 500 reviews. I was like, yeah, my sister's crazy. I'm not buying that. And I didn't buy it. She had a good experience, but I just saw those reviews, and I was just thought, that's nuts. I'm not going to do that. So that's kind of interesting because, I definitely am part of that 50% that trusts them more, probably more than family recommendations. So just kind of interesting there. Yeah, on this side, we kind of have just a real world example. Some people that we work with, Jim Mooney, he's on this webinar quite a bit. Within 70 days of focusing on reviews, they generated 225 reviews. The crazy thing about that is, we've talked about how reviews they help your ranking, they help your trust and credibility. He saw a 26% increase in Google business pages clicks just by focusing on reviews. And that's a pretty quick turnaround. 70 days, a lot of times in marketing and things, we're trying to roll things around every quarter, every 6 months, and see the changes on that. So I think that just goes to show the power of reviews again, is how those generated, or how those increased their Google business page. And that's another thing, Melissa, I'm curious about, is with you guys, when you're onboarding a new facility, and you start to implement your processes, do you guys see a big increase just by focusing on reviews? Is that something that you guys track as well?
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely see once you put in any systems in place, right, you start to see, and the focus, you start to see the results too. And just because you talked about the onboarding of facilities, there's a lot of transactions happening. So one of the best practices is we do go back and in the last, I think, the 6 months, before we would acquire a property into our management, we go back and answer the negative reviews and say, hey, we're under new management, hope to that you'll give us another chance, definitely hear your concerns, and go from there. So just because you mentioned the onboarding, I thought it was a good place to note that. But definitely see, once you start focusing on it, you'll see the positive reviews, and you'll get some negative reviews too. That happens when you ask everyone for feedback, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and another question on that is, with your onboarding, sometimes, I'm not sure, maybe you guys do this, but I thought maybe some of our listeners, maybe be purchasing facilities soon, or, adding more to their portfolio. Do you guys put your systems in place right off the bat to generate reviews, or do you guys wait until maybe rate increases have happened? Or not sure if that's what you guys do, if you increase rates or anything like that. But do you wait, or do you just throw them right in?
No, we throw them right in.
Yeah.
And the automatic processes, day one, day two go into place, and then the training of the manager, right, to make that personal ask
Okay.
takes some time as well. But the automation and those processes right away, because a lot of times when you are changing the brand or changing, you can see some drop in the list and the rankings, and so we
Yeah.
want to do everything possible starting day one to combat that.
Yeah, that's I would agree with that for sure. I know sometimes, because with our system too, we do have that current tenant piece. Sometimes we make sure to turn that off when they're first purchasing a facility, because they come in, they purchase a facility, they up someone's rate that hasn't been upped in 5 years. People kind of get upset about that, so we make sure not to hit those. We just hit move-ins. Um, but yeah, it's super interesting. Effective review management strategies. If you want to go to the next slide, a lot of these things are going to be things we talked about. I think it's more just bullet points and hitting the, just kind of re-emphasizing, encouraging positive reviews, responding to negative feedback, and you do have different options in the industry um, to manage those. Whether that's, I think you guys use Reputation. There's us, Storage Reach. There's Bird Eye. There's Podium. Different in different platforms that you can use to manage those. But we want to make sure that we're using those reviews as a marketing tool as well. We want to make sure that we, link them on your website, post them on your social media, whatever means necessary, because people want to be assured they're having a good experience. So if they're able to see those in every aspect, I think it's a big win for you.
Yeah, I agree. You can use them, make them into, I think, like Canva or things like that, have a way in your program might too, that you can just post them into a nice format and be able to utilize them. Print them in posters around your facility, use them on your message boards. So really taking that feedback to the next level. And I don't know if we're going to get into it, but I just have a couple comments on a review management, as you're implementing it in general, is one, you can't incentivize the tenant to leave reviews. And I have a whole comment on the FTC regulations in general, but you can't incentivize the tenant. But what you can do, and what we do, is we do incentivize our managers, right, to really ask for those reviews. So that might be something that you want to think about. Iris asked the question about getting more positive reviews. That's a way to do it too, and to encourage your managers and get their buy-in on your program for that as well. The other piece too, we talked about the negative feedback and answering reviews, and this is a kind of a comment in general, is with the FTC, they're releasing with Google new rules and regulations around feedback and reviews in general. And they came out a few months ago saying that you cannot explicitly ask for the review to be changed. So just keep that in mind while you are taking that conversation offline, to be very careful about how you word it to the customer, that you want to solve their problem and not, ask them to change the review. And then just in general, make sure you're checking like Google's or working with a vendor like Kale, who has all of that knowledge too, that you're checking Google's terms and the FTC terms just around reviews, because they're changing a lot. They just changed a few weeks ago about ways that you can use the reviews on your websites and on third parties as well. So just something to keep in mind, that yes, we want to get reviews, we want there, but there are some pieces that are that could be detrimental to you if you're not sure of guidelines.
Yeah, the guidelines are always moving, because as we see in this survey, reviews are getting more and more important, and the more important they are, the more powerful they are. The guidelines have been changing and trying to even the playing field for a lot of people. For a long time, it was, I'll give you $10 off your next month's rent if you leave a review, which a lot of people had a lot of success with. But then now it comes out, Google, a few years ago, it's against Google's policy. They don't want you to do that. So there's different things that you got to be aware of in order to, and I'm kind of the same way. There's a lot of different things I could say about the FTC regulations, but not something we'll get into right now. But it is interesting how the landscape's changing, just and how powerful they've become, and how people are paying attention to them.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of small business owners. I actually ran into this. We had some contract work done at the house, and I left an average review. There was some promises they didn't fulfill, and he immediately called and said, and he had a 5-star review, up until that point that he was very proud of and wanted to keep that. And he said, I'll come out and fix it this week if you'll change your review. And I said, if you want to come and fix it this week, that's great. But you should know that that's not okay to do an exchange that way. Like, you can't ask someone to change their review or remove a review. That's really going to be up to me after you do the work. And so yeah, I just think there's a lot of people who aren't aware of that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, are coming and have been introduced to the industry and to the review side of things that, people aren't aware of because, it is definitely not something that's like highly reported on or anything like that. And you have to be following it to kind of know about them. So yeah, there's definitely those things that
Yeah.
can impact
And then
that.
I had to question how valid is his 5-star review anyway, if that's how he's practicing.
Right.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's probably not so accurate.
Yeah, and then that's why it's important. We talk about this a lot. Just vendors in general. You choose good vendors who can get you that good information and make sure you're in compliance.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, you want to go to the next slide and kind of move on from there? Q&A. All right. Yeah, so I know we have a few poll questions. I'm not sure how the answers have been. If anybody has any questions they want to post in the chat, we're happy to answer anything that you have. Um, yeah.
Yeah, everybody, I just want to reiterate some of those poll questions if you didn't have a chance to answer them. The first one was, how often do you respond to customer reviews for your storage facility? Poll question number 2 was, which platform do you find the most valuable for customer reviews in your business? And poll question number 3 is, do you currently have a system in place to encourage customers to leave reviews? Are you doing that or no, or working on it? And then the last poll question was, how important do you think online reviews are in influencing potential customers' decisions? And if you didn't have an opinion on that already, you probably have a better opinion on it after listening to Melissa and
Yeah.
Kale.
Hope everyone's marking A. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you still have a few minutes. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I have a couple of questions. So for both of you, of course, which are the most effective strategies for encouraging satisfied customers to leave positive reviews?
Yeah, I think, Melissa kind of jumped into that earlier is just making sure the managers are asking. The best way to get a review is face to face after someone's had a good experience, asking them right then and there. With other, with remote managing, I think it's just having a system in place, whether that's in your emails, whether that's, call centers reaching out afterwards, just having a system in place. But I think the best option is, having someone ask them face to face.
Okay, we do have a question from Jaden. Do you have a good response to people who leave a good review to encourage other positive reviews?
Yeah, I think it's just, thanking them for the review. And again, just that appearance that you're a business that other people want to do business with. And then, you could, again, we're lucky in the storage industry, we have a database of clients. You could just personally reach out and say, hey, saw your review. Thanks so much for leaving that. And that just goes, an extra mile to thank them for that positive review.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just, there's not anything that necessarily we've seen as far as a response to a good review that have encouraged other reviews. I think it's just making sure that you get that response out there is the biggest thing. And yeah, just going that extra mile, like Melissa said, maybe that extra mile will turn into a referral down the road. Maybe it'll turn into, staying with you longer than they were planning on. So just going the extra mile is a huge thing there.
Great. Heather asked about getting a recording. Yes, Heather, everyone who registered today is going to get a copy of the recording and of the presentation that Kyle had. So you'll be getting that probably tomorrow or Monday. Look for that in your email. And if there's any more questions, keep them coming. I do have another one. I think you touched on this a little bit, but how can you best handle a negative review and turn a dissatisfied customer into a loyal customer?
Yeah, I think with that, the biggest thing, we talked about is just responding and taking it offline and then going the extra mile again to just fix their issue. If they had an issue that was um, an actual issue and and you become aware of something you weren't aware of. I think that's one thing too that we haven't even mentioned is that reviews give you an opportunity to kind of get a pulse on your business. They kind of give you an opportunity to see what's working, what's not, and see if you have any issues, which is a huge impact of reviews. And I'm actually surprised now that I think of it that we didn't talk about this, but it gives you the opportunity to get feedback, fix an issue, and if you do fix the issue, that person is that much more, becomes a loyal customer because, it's kind of like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing. It turns into that mindset.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Kayla, I was thinking the same thing. We talked a lot about answering the feedback, but not what you can do with the feedback or the negative reviews. And so we use AI tools to gauge the sentiments, and then we're measuring up or down the sentiments on appearance, convenience, cleanliness, pricing. And when you're starting to do some other things in operations and you implement a new strategy, you can use those reviews then to gauge, did you see a positive trend or a negative trend in that area? And that can give you a good indication if your operational strategy is working as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned last time, Melissa, that if you guys were raising rates, if you started seeing that sentiment with or more keywords included in reviews with rates, then you're like, time to kind of back that off a little bit. One example we've had is a remotely managed facility all of a sudden started getting a bunch of negative reviews, and it was because the gate was broken, and it mentioned it was like, we can't get in, we can't get out, kind of thing. And the manager wasn't even, or the owner wasn't even aware of that until the reviews started coming in. Ideally they'd get a call and say, this gate isn't working, but that didn't happen. They just left negative reviews. So it did give them a way to kind of get some information on their business. We'd rather have that coming in directly to us, but at least they got it some way, I guess. And then he was able to respond, say, wasn't aware of this. We'll get it fixed right away. And, down the road when people are looking at those reviews, they can see, oh man, there's a gate issue. They fixed it pretty quickly. Again, this is a business that cares. So
Exactly. We see some of that with our, it kind of comes together well with our mystery shopping program because, you might see consistently there's someone complaining about service, but you don't know who was working that day or who isn't providing the service that you're expecting. So that if you're seeing a pattern, it's a good thing you maybe want to call someone to get a mystery shopper in there and see, who seems to be the consistent problem, and so you can address it and also helps what you need to do to better train your employees. And then when people see that those changes come around again, you can create that loyalty. I do have a couple more questions. Can you provide more examples of how self-storage businesses have successfully increased their review ratings and the impact it has had on their business? I know you talked about Jim Mooney.
Yeah, so you can throw that case study back up that Kale had is great, but I think in general, the more positive reviews you get, the more likely you'll see traffic to your website.
Right.
Yeah, and we track that on our end a lot. Our average increase for facilities that haven't focused on reviews in the past, they see about a 20% increase in the first 60 days just by focusing on reviews. We have and then, that once you break that down, 20% increase in traffic, which is awesome. Let's say you have a conversion rate to a rental of 5%. If that means, that 20% increase your website traffic by 100 people, I'm not sure people's actual conversion rates, but 5% conversion rate would mean 5 new rentals, and increasing your occupancy by those 5 new rentals. So that's something that it is important to track and important to realize just what where you're at, what those reviews have done, and if that's increasing your occupancy as well. And that's something that we track on that side, is how big of an increase they get to their Google business page. We don't necessarily track whether or not those have their conversion rates have decreased or increased, because that's something we don't have access to. But if you're doing SEO, you're doing online marketing, and then you're using, like, for example, our service, that's something that you can put two and two together, and you start to kind of be able to hit all aspects and track everything.
All right. I have one more question for you. An audience, again, we have one from Allie. We'll bring her up first. What are some of the more common mistakes you see storage operators make when it comes to managing their online reviews? It's a great question, Allie.
Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, the most common mistakes we've seen, we can obviously talk about just not focusing on them. We can talk about that. But I think one thing that we've seen is just focusing on them for a week, and saying, I'm going to request all my current tenants to leave a review, and I see 10 reviews come in, and then I don't focus on them anymore. I think that's the biggest mistake. Like, yeah, it's a positive. Those 10 reviews will be a positive. But not consistently focusing on those is a mistake that we've seen, and just doing it for a few days and not continuing that.
Yeah, I think the non-focusing and just looking at it as a short-term strategy when it's a long-term strategy. But I think the biggest one, we talked about this, is like giving something to tenants for leaving reviews too, because in the long run, that's just going to hurt you. We'll figure out that you're incentivizing to leave reviews, and that's going to just hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it is always very tempting to incentivize, because people like to do stuff to be for a reason. It gives them a reason to do it. So it's always tempting, but then we always say, I know we want to, but let's go about it the right way, and you're better off in the long run.
Exactly. And that is all I have for you guys today. Audience, thank you for joining us today, bringing your questions, answering our polls. If there's anything else that you want to ask us, feel free to reach out to me or Kale or Melissa. You can find us on the web. You're going to get our contact information in that email that we follow up with the links for the replay. And I'm going to go ahead and thank Kale and Melissa for coming. I'm going to take you off screen and just go over a couple of other things before we end the show here. So thank you, guys.
Thanks,
you. Iris.
It's always a pleasure seeing you. Okay. Whoop. I don't know how we got Kayla. There we go. All right, everyone. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. We will be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, September 26th, for another episode of Self Storage Unlocked. This time it will be Mastering New Rules on Raising Capital. This will be very interesting. We will be joined by R.K. Kleibenstein of Coast to Coast Realty. He's one of my favorite people in all of self-storage. And we have 2 new people who've never been on our webinars before, Jeff Barnes and Kylie Dahl with the Angel Investors Network. So they're going to bring some creative ways of raising capital if you want that new self-storage business. And again, that will be on Thursday, September 26th. You can register on Eventbrite. I'm going to put the link in the chat for you. Let's see here. And you can register now. It's free. And of course, as always, if you are an enhanced SBOA member, you can skip that registration and just watch us live from the website. And I'm going to finish with a couple of more videos. And thank you again all for coming. It was great to have you interact with us here today. And we look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye. And I did mention the mystery shopping, so I'm going to bring up that video one more time. This is different than the one from the beginning. And I encourage everybody to put in the comments what you think the CSA forgot here.
Thank you for calling self-storage. This is how may I help you?
Yeah, and do you guys have any storage available, places, spots available?
You said you're looking for a parking space?
No, I need some storage. I'm moving to town, and I need to put my house in there, or my apartment, I guess I should say.
Okay, Okay, absolutely. Are you looking for an air-conditioned unit or a non-climate?
I think non-climate. I don't think anything in there is probably that, sensitive.
All right, and so with that, our non-climate units with the drive-up access, we have the largest being 10 by 35s, and then down from that we have 10 by 30s, 10 by 20s, and 10 by 15.
Yeah, maybe a 10 by 15. I mean, it's actually a 10 by 20.
A 10 by 20? All right, and those are starting at $269 base.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.